Good morning, everyone, and happy Tuesday. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee with Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. That's me. I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast, as well as our digital media company. I'm also the host of Blended, which is the newest conversation in diversity and inclusion. So go look that up on Apple, Spotify, Google. It's called the Blended Podcast. I'm also the CEO of Ships, which is a new tech platform, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Super excited to see you guys today. We hit 30,000 followers on our Let's Talk Supply Chain LinkedIn page yesterday. We rang it in with a post. And I just want to say thank you so much to the community. I mean, we couldn't do this without each and every one of you. You've all been so supportive, and we just appreciate all of you. So I just wanted to give a huge shout out to everyone who has supported Let's Talk Supply Chain in this journey and helped us get to 30,000 followers. All right. So let's talk about what is happening on Let's Talk Supply Chain for the week. So our episode, let me just pull that up. Our episode for the week is our Woman in Supply Chain. So the first Monday of every single month, we do feature a woman in supply chain on our podcast. And this week it is Laura Cesari. I mean, if you haven't heard of Laura, then I don't know where you've been. She's all over supply chain. She provides so much amazing content in the supply chain community. And I was really lucky to be able to interview her for episode 191. That's right. We are 9 away from our 200th episode. I'm super excited for that as well. But if you don't know about her journey and you want to learn more about who she is as a person, please go and check out this episode. I really, really enjoyed this episode. She got raw and vulnerable about different things in her journey, and I really learned so much about who she is. All right, also, let's get to the events. So we've got some really great events coming up. I am going to be hosting a panel discussion with the CSCMP Roundtable of Silicon Valley. So if you're in that group or you're in that area, please come and join us, because that's going to be a lot of fun. That's coming up, I think, April 20th. And then today, actually later on today at noon, I'm going to be part of the Industry Star Roundtable. We're going to be talking about technology and converting ideas to production more quickly. And I'm looking forward to joining everybody for that one. And then they finally got my name right. Manifest next year, January 25th, 27th. That's where I will be in Vegas for that one. And then last but not least, I do want to talk a little bit about Ships today, because I don't talk about it a lot, but it is one of our sponsors for the Thoughts and Coffee. So Ships is my new technology platform. So not only is it a marketplace where shippers can go on to our website and they can get quotes for their air and ocean freight shipments. They can book their shipments quite easily, but we're now also offering a white label solution to freight forwarders as well as shippers. So if you are pulling your hair out as a shipper, trying to figure out how to organize your freight forwarders, our platform, our white label platform, is definitely for you. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a plug on that before we bring up Audrey. Audrey, welcome to the show.
Hi.
Happy Tuesday.
Morning. Thank
How
you.
are you?
Oh, keeping busy.
Are you? I mean, you're a shipper in the middle of a pandemic with so many different disruptions. I mean, I don't know how you could not keep busy.
Makes it hard to relax.
Well, why don't you do a quick introduction for everybody who may not know you? I mean, Audrey joins me every couple of weeks, so just want to give an introduction to those who are just joining us for the first time today.
Sure. So I'm Audrey Ross. I'm here in Toronto. I'm a logistics and custom specialist at award-winning business-to-business company called Orchard Custom Beauty. And we specialize in cosmetics, beauty tools, and bath accessories. And yeah, I do the logistics, supply chain, sometimes international tax, stuff to keep it interesting in our global environment.
Awesome. I just realized that I don't have my personal LinkedIn page up. So if you're over on my personal LinkedIn, I am coming for you. I just didn't pull it up yet. this morning.
We got distracted before we started by having a really interesting conversation. Then it's like, oh, it's time to go on.
Yeah,
So
we were like, 15 seconds. I am so not ready for this today. Oopsies, but we're going to be live. Yay. All right. I want to start saying hi to everybody in the audience as well who's joining us over on the Let's Talk Supply Chain pages. Audrey, do you want to get us set up for the question of the week? What is our question of the week for today?
So the question of the week will appear on Let's Talk Supply Chain on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and in the email.
Facebook.
Facebook. Yeah. Oh, Facebook. I never think of Facebook. So all 4 of your top social media sites. So then you go and respond to the question of the week there so that we can all see what your answers are. And this week, the question is, would you rather, this is a hot topic because as more and more people get vaccinated, it's coming up. Would you rather work from home, work from the office, or a hybrid of both? So
what do you think?
Hybrid.
A hybrid? Yeah. Why do you say that? You'd rather not work from home?
No, it's been nice working from home. I think, well, maybe it'll be different when I'm not just stuck in my apartment. I was saying this to my coordinator yesterday. We had kind of a connection call, and it was like, I used to, if I had projects or reports or things to kind of brainstorm, I used to go to a coffee shop and sit at the coffee shop and have that different environment. And right now where I am, I've been in lockdown since like November 23rd. So there's no coffee shops to go to. There's no other place for me except my apartment and the office. So for me, going to the office is like the only other, or the grocery store, and you can't really hang out there. So the office is the only other place. You kind of can.
I hear that people meet people there all the time. I mean, it's kind of like, online
dating. I mean, I could set my laptop up and, seafood on, fine. But yeah, so for me right now, I'm like, hybrid, because I can't stand to just, I love my apartment, but I can't be here all the time. But then I'm thinking when stuff opens up, it might not be so much. I don't know. Would I only go into the office for meetings or?
There's so many questions.
There's so many things to consider. Because it really is a different perspective being sort of stuck here versus, you see other places where things are starting to open up and you're like, oh, no, I probably would just stay working from home because now I can go everywhere. So I don't know, my mindset might be off.
That's true. Okay, so to our audience, do you want to work from home? Do you want to work from the office, or would you rather a hybrid? Here we go. Rhonda is... So hybrid, 74% of our team surveyed picked that too, Audrey. Me always being in the office, and I prefer that venue, too distracted working from home, and I feel less energy. It's really across thank you for that, Rhonda. It's really across the board as to where people kind of feel comfortable with everything. I just want to give a shout out on my personal LinkedIn because Vitaly says, nice fellow Torontonian. Vitaly, I'm also from Toronto. So, we're all representing this morning. And Larry, hi, Larry. I want to do a shout out to Larry, okay? Because I literally went and met him on Friday because he had grabbed this amazing shelf thing for my camera, and now my camera is much lower and I feel like I can connect with you guys a lot better. So thank you, Larry, for that. I think it's such an amazing tool and I appreciate you for that. Martin says, congratulations for the 30,000 followers. Thank you. And says, Laura is the best supply chain analyst in the world. And we're also saying hello to Alessia as well. So thank you so much for everybody joining us wherever you're joining us. I have so much fun doing this show. All right. So Davin also says hybrid option. The convenience of home is nice, but having a separate spot to work is key to keeping away distractions. Absolutely. So I would actually pick, if I had an office to go to, I might pick the hybrid option, but I do like working from home. I mean, I've been working from home for a very, very long time. And so I've probably gotten used to it, but I absolutely do need a change of scenery every once in a while because, these four walls are amazing, but I definitely want to see some people at some point, not just digitally. All right. So now we're just going to go to demo real quick. Need to be at the operations most of the time. Like to work from home once a week. All right. Once a week is nice
Yeah.
too. Love
Yeah.
that. Demo's doing some amazing things over in Panama. So if
Yeah.
you're not connected to him, connect with him and see what he is doing because he has grown his company exponentially over the last year or so. All right, let's talk about my thoughts and coffee posts. So every Sunday, I post about some sort of leadership, something, what I'm feeling from the week. And last week, I saw this picture. And it said, who else wants to shut off their phone, drive to the beach and forget everything and just listen to the sound of the waves crashing? So I cried first when I read that because I was like, I still can't get to the beach and I haven't been to the beach in a year. I mean, I've been to the beach in Ontario, but it's not the beach in Florida that I grew up on. And I love, love, love. That's the place. That's my home away from home. I recharge from there. And then it got me thinking, what really does it for everybody? How do people recharge? I know the beach, is my happy place and my place where I want to recharge. But where do you recharge? Where do you get back your energy from? And me, it's obviously the beach and the ocean. What about you, Audrey? And if you guys are in the audience, we want to hear from you too. So let us know where you recharge and what gives you back energy as well.
That's a tough one. I mean, and especially since the last week, my energy, I felt pretty like low motivated. So when I saw it on Sunday, I was like, yeah, how do I recharge and get going? And I think I don't know, it's a variety of ways. I like, doing, that kind of a trip or, going to the beach, spending time in the water, getting that sunshine, but sometimes when it's here, it's like just, going for a walk in my neighborhood sort of can clear my head. Staying off my phone more. I've had a couple of weeks now where I'm just on the phone, and like that first line in that image is like, put down your phone. And I'm like, put down your phone, Audrey. Walk away from this stupid phone. It's like toxic.
Or like Allison Cusack takes a Tupperware container, puts her phone in there, hands it to somebody else, walks away, works for a couple hours, then goes back to her phone. I mean, I love that.
Yeah. I might need to do that. There's so many different ways to recharge. Yeah.
Look at this. Brandy said she's moving to the beach in October. Oh, I'm so jealous.
Look at those Americans.
But I'm so glad that you shared that with us. I know a lot of people on my post were talking about the mountains, which I never considered because mountains is just not my thing, whereas the beach is. There's a lot of people that really like to recharge in the mountains and get into nature.
Get that height, get that, the view. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, somebody said fly fishing. I know that Hope White loves to fish with her family. So I had tagged her in that part of the post because I think it was Michael that said that he likes fly fishing. And so fishing is definitely something that people love to do. So, and then Rhonda says outdoor beach, hard in Arizona now. So the mountains, camping. See, I love that camping is your thing. Camping is not my thing. My brother, goes camping with his family. I show up for the day, hang out, go home to my comfy bed. I mean,
I love camping.
Oh, I do not.
I used to go camping all the time. So
give me a cottage. Give me a cottage, nice comfy bed. I'll drive up and we can hang out for the afternoon, and then I'm just going to drive home because
well, it's
nice.
It's fun, and we take the Girl Guides, and because I'm a Girl Guide leader, so. Nice. And then you watch them try to make things on a fire and, set up their own tents and stuff.
Yeah, you're like, girl. I used to be into Girl Guides, but camping is not my favorite thing. So over on my personal LinkedIn, giving a shout out to Christina. Great to see you. Janet says hybrid. Natalie says hybrid. Thank you so much for joining us. Debbie, hybrid, but mostly in the office. And Peter is over there as well. Good morning. He is doing a kitchen demo today. Sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to be doing that today. Demo is not my thing either. You guys are learning a hell of a lot about me today. I'm also very clumsy, and we may as well just go here. I'm also very clumsy. I don't know if any of you know that or have heard me say this before, but I dumped my yogurt this morning onto the counter, and I dropped my protein powder bottle this morning. So it's been a great morning all around. All right. So let's get, oh, and Simon says my office is in my home. And so he likes to work from home as well. All right. So a couple of other people. Matthew, North Carolina has the best of both worlds. Rick says cottage. See, he knows what I'm talking about. No sleeping on the ground. Yeah. Anyways. All right. Let's get to our first topic. What are we talking about today? So I found, everybody knows I love The Hustle. So I found this article in The Hustle the other day, and it says, where the hell are all the shipping containers? I want to know that too. I think Audrey wants to know that as a shipper, and I'm pretty sure 90% of the audience watching this today wants to know why we have an equipment shortage and why we are, where are all the containers? So I want to ask you in the audience, where you think all of the shipping containers are. One thing that they did mention was that we're not losing containers to tiny homes as we think we might be. And I thought that was pretty interesting because
it's like the first sentence they were like, no, it's not that.
We're not losing containers to tiny homes, people. All right. So where are we losing them losing them to? Well, number one, they talk about there being an imbalance. Yeah. Number two, they talk about unclaimed cargo. So a whole bunch of cargo apparently during the beginning of the pandemic was shipped, but then not claimed. And I think that that's been a running theme throughout most of the pandemic. And so unclaimed cargo. And then they talked about how Walmart and Home Depot have increased their shipping by 300%. And so all three of those things combined is part of what is creating this. There's a lot more to this, and I will go into that in just a minute, but I want Audrey to weigh in on this.
Oh my goodness. I send mine back. They come in, offloaded, back. They go back. So make sure you're sending yours back. I know we did hear at the beginning of the pandemic, yeah, that unclaimed cargo is a thing. And it's especially a concern if businesses did close and haven't reopened.
Yeah.
And so I think, maybe now's the time. It's been a year probably for some of it. So can we crack those open, offload them, and get the containers back in circulation? Maybe.
It might not be that easy.
It's probably illegal. Yeah, it's probably totally against all regulations, but I'm not caffeinated, so I can suggest it. All you can do, all you can do right now is cope with it. We know that it's here. We can see that it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
For the long run of 2021, and we just have to try and cope with it.
Well, and the other thing that they mentioned that I thought was interesting is that they're scrapping more containers than they're actually producing, which I didn't quite understand because I almost think like one container out, one container in.
You would think.
Jinx, you owe me a beer. Anyways, and shipping costs are going up like 200%. We've got a 40% imbalance. But one of the things that I saw in the news this morning was that Costco posted a net profit. And thank you to Jonathan Kemp over at Verify in Australia, because he posted this. And I wanted to, and I read it this morning. He gave me the high level notes. Anyways, they posted a net profit in the first quarter of $23.6 billion.
Yeah.
That's a 5,326% growth. So imagine what they could do with that. Even if they took half of it, everybody still gets their bonuses. Everybody's still happy. But imagine what they could do with that and how they could impact the industry moving forward. Because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of small businesses that are really impacted by what's happening in the pandemic and all of these equipment shortages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But they're making 5,000% growth.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let that sit for a second.
Yeah. Don't talk about their debt, though.
I don't know what that looks like. But what I do know is I think that there's some money in there that we could really use to impact this industry and alleviate some of the challenges that we're having. I'm not saying that I know everything that's going on there. Could be right, could be wrong. Just putting it out into the ether.
But it's kind of like CHEP, right? Where it's like you always want to have a good supply. right? And it's very organized, and you place your order, it's tracked, it's, and you'd think they'd have the same thing for containers as well.
Yeah, or like notice an imbalance and be like, maybe we need to make some more, or maybe we need to pick up some. I don't know. I don't know how the whole thing works. I just thought I would throw that out there because I think it's kind of interesting. All
It's
right.
certainly a problem.
Moving on from there, because
Okay.
I hear the silence. All right. So Joanna Marks wanted us to talk a little bit more about food supply chain. And so I found this article on HelloFresh, and it's not necessarily all about the food supply chain, but it's talking about how HelloFresh is taking a hand in what they're doing from a sustainability standpoint.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was a great article for us to talk about. We're talking a lot more about sustainability. I'm going to be talking a lot more about sustainable supply chains and sustainability and HelloFresh. I mean, I didn't realize that they were a German company, first of all. But the question that I have for you in the audience, what are your sustainability goals professionally and personally, right? Do your companies have some sustainability goals that you are working towards collectively? Do you have some personal goals that you want to share with the community as well? So feel free to put your answer in the comments, and we'll be able to share that up on screen. What did you think of this article?
I mean, I think it's going to be the trend for all of us, especially in the coming, 3 to 5 years. From science, we're facing some different numbers, and whether we're going to meet those global targets that we have. And so I think it's nice to see businesses kind of fitting themselves into this new supply chain model. And I sort of looked at, the overarching kind of piece is that they started making the change by getting their product locally, so sourcing local produce. They started looking at their packaging and how they can reduce plastic. If you've ever gotten one of these food delivery boxes, it's usually all the ingredients are packed separately. So the spices will be in a little plastic thing, the sauce will be in a little plastic bag. Everything's kind of shrink wrap for freshness and whatnot. And then the recipe comes on the card. And so, most people opening that are like, oh, it's kind of a lot of packaging for all this stuff, but it makes making my meals really handy. So they looked at it from that piece, the packaging piece. Then they went into the wastage and how they could be circular. So instead of, on their side, instead of food being, diverted to landfill, food's going to be composted. Food is going to be reused for energy sources. Instead of using fuels, we're looking at biofuels. Then they went into transportation. And so what is the unused space in their containers and their trucking? Can they use better routes that are more direct so that they're not having extra, vehicle time on the road? And then they looked at their own facilities, so the actual site that they're on and how that can be more energy efficient. And they chose to go with, sort of wind power. So they really had sort of a five piece approach, to kind of holistically make their business more sustainable. And I think that's what the direction we're going to see companies move in, because we had talked a couple of episodes ago about Adidas as well. So Adidas was not only changing up their materials, but they were also focusing on the labor and their employees and their growth and their situation in the world, and also their facilities and how they could be using solar or winds to power their facilities. So there's a lot here, and I think it's a great example for a lot of other companies.
Yeah, I thought, one of the things that stuck out for me was the local suppliers.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking a lot about, and I know you can't do it in every single industry for every single company.
Yeah.
But I think, talking about your supplier base and talking about looking at different ways of manufacturing and taking a look at your supply chain strategy and what that looks like, and whether you near shore, offshore, shore, you know what I mean? Like we're looking at all sorts of different options. And one of the reasons why they went to local suppliers is because they can cut down their carbon emissions from a transportation standpoint, because their suppliers are that much closer to where they are located, which, I thought was interesting, because we're talking about it from a cost perspective. We're talking about it from a just-in-time perspective, maybe a just-in-case inventory perspective. We're talking about manufacturing for local markets rather than global markets, which is what we've done traditionally. And this is taking it one step further from a sustainability standpoint, talking about how local suppliers can help you with your sustainability goals. And again, it's not for every single industry, but especially for the food industry, I thought that was pretty interesting as well. And the wind energy. I mean, I noticed that they said mid 2020 that they moved to wind energy in Texas. So they actually they must have avoided that deep freeze that happened in Texas and shut everything down because they would be on a different grid than everybody else. Which
potentially. Potentially. As long as the turbines weren't frozen.
Yeah, well, that's another point.
That's a whole other thing.
All right. We got one more hot topic to talk about. Love to hear all of your sustainability comments and answers to that. This is a great, great article. So go and check that out. The link is always in the comments on the Let's Talk Supply Chain page. And I put the link in the comments after the show on my personal LinkedIn page. So if you're watching over on my LinkedIn page, you will see those in probably about 15 minutes. Anyways, all right, here we go. So usually what Audrey and I do every couple of weeks is we talk about Eric Johnson's Log Tech newsletter. Love getting this newsletter. He talks all about supply chain and supply chain tech. If you're really into supply chain tech, go and check it out and go and subscribe. The question that we have around this particular article, and this article, Eric handed the reins over to Brian Glick. And so Brian Glick is a good friend of ours, and he wrote an amazing article last week. And so the question, while we discuss this and go through it to you, the audience, is what do you compare supply chains to? Because in this article, Brian compared supply chain to your body. Yeah. Now I'm going to turn it over to Audrey so she can explain it because.
Okay, there is it because it's a good line. It's a good line. Okay, so if you think of the supply chain like your body, you don't need to understand how every cell works and how they're all interacting to run a marathon. You don't control every biochemical reaction in your body. You eat well, you train regularly, and you deal with the injuries. And so he's likening this to supply chain is the same. So that the sort of sense of the article is that, there's so many things about this business, especially when your company, you're not shipping from, your company here and then down the street to another company. Now you have a global supply chain or a global value chain. So the complications increase the more global you are, the more pieces you are. And so, it's like, what can you do about, Vivek here mentions, what are the takeaways from the Suez Canal? Well, expect the unexpected because, in supply chain and especially into this year, we have a good idea of what's going to happen and it's not going to go well. So there's no way to control the situation, to control the costs from going well. So then what is going to be maybe your new benchmark? And it might just be trying to find a bit of consistency or readjusting your planning. Reassessing how you're communicating with customers. I mean, I think, Brian's well familiar with what this environment is like and how, quote unquote, demanding our customers can be. But when you think about it, did our customers demand same day delivery or was it offered and then now they have it?
Right.
And so it has to be achieved because we can have it. And sometimes I think we make the leap to everybody expects this and we don't actually have the communication piece of do people expect this or can we dial it back? And I think in this year, especially if we can recommunicate what timelines are and, that'll help us manage an uncontrollable situation.
I knew you would love this, Rhonda. I knew you would love it. He also talks about peeling back the onion of supply chain and how there's layer upon layer upon layer. Like you get into ocean freight and there's different layers from pricing to transportation to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And what he was saying is that you cannot control how many layers there are and how many layers down and how many things you have to control in supply chain. And so what he's saying is to take a step back, lessen some of that control, right? Because we're all problem solvers. We all want to solve all the world's problems as supply chain professionals. But he says, take a step back, loosen that control, invest, have the knowledge, and exercise what is important to the supply chain. Step back and think strategically rather than getting into the layers upon layers upon layers that you're just not going to be able to solve right away, if at all, because things are changing so often. So
I would you just get so stressed. Like that's something I had to learn early in my career, is that you just get so stressed trying to, and it's like, why am I stressing myself out, making myself sick? I'm worried. Like, and it's like, I can't do anything about this. I cannot control the Suez Canal. I wish I could. I can't. So what can I do? And like you said, it's, it's this, the bigger picture piece, the step back piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would implore all of you to go and subscribe. Check out that blog that he wrote last Friday. I think it was a really great one. And then Eric obviously brings the newsletter every single week. So that's it for us today. Thank you so much for everyone for joining us. That 30 minutes always flies by. Loved all of your comments and all of your questions. We will see you back here next Tuesday. I think Dan Deegan is joining me next Tuesday. So come back. We'll see you at 10 a.m. Eastern next Tuesday. And I hope you all have an amazing